Jordan Terrell Carter, better known as Playboi Carti, is a rapper and 2017 XXL freshman from Atlanta, Georgia, and a lot of people got mad at me for saying this guy was the worst freshman of the 2017 class in my opinion. So, okay, I thought, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Carti's music is actually good and I just didn't hear his best tracks. So I went and listened to his 2 mixtapes that are on Apple Music, those being In Abundance, which I believe is unofficial or fan-made or something like that, and his self-titled Playboi Carti mixtape. So, did these change my mind? And the real question we'll be asking is Playboi Carti one of the worst rappers in the game? Let's find out.
Might just take that rig, yo, take her on the truck, lay it on her tongue, put it right there, bitch, hit on with the drum, they gon' feel it,
As always, for part 1, we're going to be looking at his voice and his delivery. I know this is going to trigger a bunch of comments saying that he's not that hard to understand, but no, Carti sounds like he has his jaw clamped shut and he's trying to rap. Seriously, it's a lie to say that this guy has clear delivery most of the time. I only really pick up a few words he says per lines on a large percentage of his songs. His voice is just very drawly and it almost sounds like he's constantly on lean or something, which might be the sound he's going for, but honestly, I'd rather just understand him. For example, the track Magnolia.
sound like cat, what? I'm a soldier, what? Damn, I thought I told you, what? Shooting like a soldier, like I'm from Magnolia, what? All these niggas, always bold.
I really don't like that song and his voice on that one. I wish I knew what he was saying there. I'm sure it was a compelling narrative. However, there are some exceptions to this where his vocals are more clear, such as on Woke Up Like This.
Meet me at my next show, but you better bring a pipe, bitch. We ain't fighting, she like me, exciting, so exciting.
Also, on some songs, his voice sounds way too deep into the mix. I don't know if it's an issue with his delivery not being projected enough or a mastering issue, but sometimes his vocals just aren't prominent enough and sound more like background noise if anything. I know it's not his song, but Carti doesn't sound like he's even there on A$AP Rocky's telephone calls. As for my rating, I know that I'll definitely put Carti below a 5 because he really doesn't have an appealing voice in my opinion, and his clarity is pretty bad. In terms of voice, Carti is exceptionally boring to me as well. Not as boring as 21 Savage's voice, which I gave a 3 out of 10 on this series, but it's damn close, so Carti gets a 3.5 out of 10 in this section. If he was a bit less mumbly, he'd have the potential to score higher. And for part 2, we're going to be looking at his flow. I really did not feel like Carti offered much in the flow department that was exciting or varied. One thing I realized was that whenever Carti featured another artist on his songs, the first thing I noticed was whoever he featured didn't even struggle to flow better than him. If you like Carti, you'll probably disagree with me on this, but I found his flow incredibly boring on almost every track he's rapped on. And there's one track he's done which has the most dead flow in the entire world. On his track called Number 9, he uses that one syllable flow for almost the whole song.
No, name, count it, no, big, walk, card, look, short, one.
It is his worst song in terms of the flow for sure. I don't see who this type of flow appeals to for a whole song. Now, I don't dislike slow flows at all if they fit the song and manage to stay interesting, but Carti seems to be a fan of flows that move at 0 miles per hour. On songs like What We Doin', it feels kinda like he just drags words out to make his flows connect together and it just has no momentum whatsoever.
2 hoes, bad dough, go out my back door. This your main hoe, that's my way at home.
A really rare example of where his slower flow works is on Whole Thing, which is a track I actually really like.
I want that Kurt Cobain, I can't feel my face, designer built my waist, bitch pick up your face.
It really fits the sinister sound of it. He also focuses a lot more on using ad-libs than actually rapping in his songs. On location, I swear he uses more ad-libs than actual words, and ad-libs feel like they've kind of become the cop-out way to make your songs catchy now. Honestly, I just feel like Playboi Carti is a walking ad-lib. I can't give Carti a high score here either. I found most of his flows to be incredibly boring, and he has only shown off different flows a few times. I'd probably lump him in with Soulja Boy in the flow category, honestly. A 2 out of 10 for Mr. Carti here. Now part 3, always the fun one, it's his lyrics. We all know Carti isn't going to get a high score in this section. Not many people in this series do. Even if you're a fan of Carti, it's hard to deny that his lyrics don't really say much of anything. But my issue with Carti's lyrics go past the typical lines that always come up in rap, such as "ball like my middle name Spalding." My main issue is that his lyrics really do not paint a picture for the listener at all. His beats do, but his lyrics don't at all. For example, the beat for Half and Half gives it a very drug-fueled sound, but Carti's lyrics don't add to the feel of this. I think lyrics should be used to create some type of image in the listener's head, and Carti's lyrics don't do that. Sometimes it genuinely feels like he just freestyles all his lyrics, and obviously I don't mean that as a compliment. Another massive issue I have is that Carti leans on repetition way too much. I get that repetition works when you're trying to make a catchy hook, but Carti uses so much repetition within his verses as well, and it just gets really monotonous after a while. He does this on Magnolia, Paper, and Had To is one of the more repetitive tracks that I've heard.
When they got them things, ooh, way all in my name, ooh, fuck me for my fame, ooh, fuck me for my fame, ooh, way all in my name, ooh, way all in my name.
There's actually really only a handful of tracks, such as Young Zanho, where I feel like Carti's lyrics actually contribute somewhat towards the track. I don't feel like there's anything I'm missing. I don't feel like there is anything to miss in his lyrics. I try not to be too harsh with these rankings, but I have to go with a 1.5 out of 10 here. Really not many redeeming qualities in his lyrics whatsoever. And for part 4, we'll be looking at his beat selection. This is the main reason why I believe people enjoy Carti. If there is one thing that I really do like about Carti's music, it is his beat choices. Towards the end of his Playboi Carti tape, I kinda got sick of the production style he went for, but it's still the most interesting and unique part of his music. The beat for Location, which was the intro to his self-titled mixtape, got me really intrigued and had a really wavy sound to it.
What? You're gonna...
That's a great instrumental. I'd probably prefer it without Carti on it. Young Zanho has a very similar sounding beat to that one. The beat that surprised me the most though was the one for Whole Thang. Jesus Lord, the beat goes too hard and I absolutely loved the way it sounded. It's probably the only Carti song I'd say I love, and I believe it's actually Uno the Activist's song.
What? No, we cannot hang if you a stain. What you want? We rock.
That is exactly my type of beat. It's so threatening and powerful, it's really great. His producers really need more love in my opinion. Beats are definitely the strongest part of his music. Also worth mentioning that the beat switch up on Flex is beautiful as well. Of course, there are a few I don't like, but not that many. I'm not a fan of that kind of XXXTENTACION sounding beat on I Got Depressed Hose. It sounded more irritating to me than anything, with that kind of sparkling sound in the background, I think is the best way to describe it. Other beats I didn't like that much were Magnolia, which is somehow his biggest hit, Looking, and Freestyle for the People. Mostly though, I really enjoy Carti's production, and honestly think his mixtapes would be 10 times better as beat tapes. I'm gonna give him a big 7 out of 10 here. He occasionally has some low quality or irritating beats, but for the most part his production is very solid. And for part 5, the final part we'll be ranking him on, it's my overall enjoyment of his music. The two mixtapes I heard from him were In Abundance and his self-titled Playboi Carti mixtape. Let's start with In Abundance. I didn't really find this mixtape to be all that great, honestly. There were maybe 4 tracks I kind of enjoyed throughout the mixtape, and 3 of them had features, so that's kind of saying something. It had more interesting tracks than the Playboi Carti tape did, and had more varied soundscapes, but there was still a lot of really bad tracks on it, and Carti is still really boring on here, just ruining the tracks with boring lyrics, dead bad flows and bad rhymes. As for his Playboi Carti mixtape, it was probably worse than In Abundance very marginally because I don't like either of them all that much, but it was a bit more consistent, I'd say. Initially, I was pretty interested, honestly. The beats gave out a really nice vibe and Carti was pretty much background noise against them. However, I felt the beats got a bit too samey towards the end and I started to enjoy them less and less as it went on. He also had really dumbed down repetitive hooks across the whole tape, and he's seriously lucky Ho rhymes with Ho because he rhymed that like 20 times on the track Kelly K. Overall, I was not a fan at all of what I heard, and I'm just happy this whole experience is over. As you can tell, I really didn't like listening to Carti's mixtapes, but truthfully, I did hear some really great beats throughout the whole thing, so that does give it some sort of merit. Therefore, I think it's fair to give him a 2.5 out of 10 here. A lot of 0.5 scores in this episode, isn't there? I think that's fair because a lot of the beats I really did like, but Carti drags down his project so damn much that it knocks a lot of points off. And finally, I'll be giving my overall verdict and telling you where Carti ranks against all the other rappers I've done in this series so far. So, as an overall numerical score, Carti gets a 16.5 out of 50. This does not make him the worst rapper on this list so far, but he's fairly close to the bottom, and that pretty much represents where he should be for me. This places him at number 10 in this series out of 13, just above Kodak Black, but below 21 Savage, which is a ranking I can agree with. I doubt I'm gonna go back to Carti's music other than to listen to 1 or 2 tracks, and as always, I do hope for him to change my mind in the future by dropping better projects, but who knows if that day will come. As always, the full list of my full worst rappers in the game list will be in the description below, and there is also a link to a Rate Your Music page at the very top of the description which you can click if you want to see it with little images of the rappers, you know, just in case you like your visuals. So the whole list will be down there and you can see how everyone ranks, in my opinion there. Just important to remember, as always, this is just my opinion, no one else's, and I'm not saying it's the right opinion because nobody has a right opinion, but let's not discuss this. Playboi Carti, not a fan. Well guys, that is going to be it for the video today, and I hope you guys all enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave a like, share it if you want me to help it get out there and help it get more views, and check out the worst rappers in the game playlist if you have not done so already. You can find this whole series on there, and if you're wondering why I put certain rappers in certain positions, you can watch the videos on them, and I explain it pretty in depth in all of those. So I'm pretty excited right now because I have a new microphone on the way. I think my dad accidentally paid for an Amazon Prime subscription once, so I have that one-day delivery, so tomorrow I'll be getting a new microphone, which is great. The sound quality should really step up. The microphone I have just now is not bad. It's a Blue Yachty, so it's high quality audio, but tomorrow I'm getting a Rode NT1A, I believe it's called, and that's the first ever XLR microphone I've got, so I'll plug that into an audio interface, which I also ordered, and hopefully it can just improve the quality a lot, so I'm really excited about that. Just thought I'd let you guys know about that. You know, you guys obviously helped me buy this equipment, so I want to thank you guys a lot for always being there to watch my videos, and of course for subscribing. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I think I'm gonna do Ski Mask the Slump God in the next episode of this series. I will hopefully see you guys all in the next one. I know these videos don't come out that frequently, the worst rappers in the game. They do take a while to work on, but I'll always try and get them out as fast as I can while keeping them as in-depth as possible. And I'll hopefully see you guys all in the next one. This is CDTVProductions, signing out.